thanks for all that is. Give praise, give praise, give praise, give praise, give praise for all that is.
Good morning. Just doing our 5-minute tester before we start. Good morning.
There will never be another day just like this day, so let's give.
How are you doing?
Now.
Let's give thanks this morning. We are awake.
Selah, Selah, Selah.
Just doing a tester
Selah,
before we start at 9 o'clock this morning.
for all that is. Ashe, 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 for all that is. Give thanks, give thanks, give thanks, give thanks, give thanks for all that is. There will never ever be another day just like this day, so let's give praise now.
Good morning. We're giving him praise this morning.
Hallelujah, 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 for all that is. Namaste, namaste.
Good morning.
Namaste, namaste.
Good morning.
Namaste for all that is.
Good morning to you this morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
There will never ever be
Just
another
doing a
day
tester
just
this
like
morning
this
before we
day,
start.
So let's give
So let's give.
praise now.
Let's give praise. We're
We
awake,
give praise
alive to
and
see another
Ashe.
day.
Selah, namaste. We give praise.
We give praise this morning.
All that is.
Definitely, we give praise. We're now just doing a tester. Let me know if you can hear me. I'm going to play that number again. It's the Angela Lee Show.
Give thanks.
This lovely Sunday morning.
Give thanks
And we're talking about
for all that
our
is.
well-being and our spiritual life this morning.
Give praise.
Particularly, we are
Give
actually
praise.
asking you that
Give
question.
praise. Give praise. Give praise for all that
About
is.
the crutch in your life. What are you leaning on this morning?
There will never ever be another day just like this day, so let's give praise now.
What are you leaning on this morning?
Selah,
What is the crutch? Who is the crutch in your life this morning?
Selah, Selah.
And we're streaming live on Facebook Live, on YouTube, and also on lmsoulradio.com. Good morning to you this morning. Join me. It's our spiritual and well-being show this morning. How are you doing? Send me a message. Let me know if you are awake with me this morning.
For all that is.
Good morning.
Give thanks.
Give thanks this morning.
Give
We are awake this morning.
Give thanks. Give thanks. Give thanks for all that is.
We give thanks for all that is this morning.
There will never ever be another day just like this day, so let's give praise now.
Let's give praise now. We are awake this morning. We can't take anything for granted. I give praise and thanks to the universe for waking me up, the creator of the universe for waking me up this morning. Let's give thanks this morning. It's our spiritual and well-being show, and it's Angela Lee, and we're streaming live on ellensoulradio.com on the airways, and we're also streaming live on Facebook Live, and we're streaming live on YouTube. Live on YouTube as well. So good morning to you this morning. Good morning, good morning. Let's give thanks this morning. Let's give thanks. We can't take anything for granted this morning. We give him praise for waking us up this morning. Yeah, we give him praise for everything that he's done for us this morning.
There will never ever be another day just like this day, so let's give praise now.
Yeah, let's give praise now.
Give praise and I say la namaste. We give praise.
We give praise
for all that is.
Yeah, we give praise this morning for all that is this morning. We give praise, we give praise. And you know what? I'm going to play that again because it's so powerful this morning. I'm going to play it again as I plug the show to loads of people this morning. Rowan Stanhard, good morning, good morning. Thank you, good morning. Good morning, Curly. He says I look good in red. Thank you. I was going to put some red lippy, but I thought it's a bit too much for Sunday morning. It's a bit too much. We're giving praise this morning. Join me on the show. It's the Angela Lee Show. We're streaming live on ellensoulradio.com. Also live on StreamYard. Live on Facebook Live, live on YouTube, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube, Angela Lee. Support the sister. Good morning, good morning. How are you doing, everyone? How are you doing this morning? We're giving praise. We're so happy to be alive this morning. We're talking about what is your crutch this morning? What are you leaning on? What are you leaning on this morning? And we're going to give you some tips on how we can become interdependent and lean on ourselves and the Most High, the universe, the creator of the universe. Good morning, good morning. Join me this morning. Join me this morning. Join me this morning. It's the Angela Lee Show. And we're going to have a positive show this morning. We're giving thanks. We're giving praise and we're giving thanks. We're giving praise and we're giving thanks. Share the show. Share the show. For anyone that you think that needs to listen to the show today, do share the show this morning. I'm doing my plug-in. Do share the show. Anyone that you feel that needs to hear this message this morning, then do share the show. We're giving praise. We're giving thanks. Happy to be alive. We're giving praise for making it through COVID, because many didn't make it, and we're giving thanks that we've made it. We're here. Blessings, Marcia Grant. Blessings. We're giving praise and we're giving thanks. We don't take anything for granted. We give praise and we give thanks.
Namaste.
that we have peace of mind.
Namaste.
We give thanks this morning and we give praises this morning. Good morning. How are you doing?
There will never ever be another day just like this day. So
there'll never be another day like this.
Praise now. We give praise.
We give praise.
Namaste.
We give praise this morning. We give praise this morning. Yeah, we give praise for all that is this morning. We don't take anything for granted. We give praise and we give thanks. Good morning to you, Mark Jordan, this morning. Good morning to all those that are listening on the airways. We give praise and we give thanks. We give praise and we give thanks because we've made it through COVID. We've made it. It's nearly 2 months to the end of 2021 and we've made it. And so we need to give praise. We need to give thanks because we know many people didn't make it and we can't take anything for granted. It's the Angela Lee Show. We're streaming live on ellensoulradio.com. Also, we're streaming live on my YouTube channel. Support me and subscribe. Also, we're streaming live on StreamYard and we're streaming live on Facebook Live this morning. It's our spiritual and our well-being show this morning. And we're giving thanks and we're giving praise. Giving thanks to Maria Rowe, who's just shared the show for me on her amazing positive vibes page. Giving thanks and giving praise to all those community people that support in the mission. And it's our spiritual and well-being show today. And we're going to be talking about what crutch are you leaning on? What are you leaning on to support you in terms of your well-being and your mental health? And I'm hoping that a bee is not going to fly into my office like it did yesterday because I'm going to go running. I'm going to leg it this morning. And so that's what we're talking about this morning. And so you let me know your thoughts and just engage in the conversation because I like to have a conversation with my listeners. So you can, bring your comments alive on Facebook Live. You can actually bring your comments here on StreamYard as well. So let's communicate with each other because I'm not talking at you. We're having a conversation this morning and we are wanting to normalize our chat in terms of talking about our well-being. Denise has just asked me to send her that link again, so I'm going to try and see if I can send her the link. We are normalizing the chat about our well-being. It's a normal thing. It's similar to when we talk about our physical well-being. So there's nothing untoward, there's nothing unusual in terms of when we start talking about our well-being. It's a normal thing. Our well-being is a part of our emotional and psychological makeup. And so it's a normal thing to talk about our well-being. And so we want to normalize it. It's fine to talk about how we're feeling, how we're doing. It's fine. Good morning to you, Denise. Good morning to you, Denise. Many blessings to you, Denise. She's up with me this morning. And so before we start our show, as I always do, we're going to do our affirmations. But before we do our affirmations this morning, before we do our affirmations, I just want to make sure that we are tuned in to our vibrations this morning. We're going to do our affirmations. We're going to do our affirmations this morning. I've put some nice meditation music on the background while we do our affirmations this morning. So wherever you are sitting this morning, if you are sitting down or if you're lying down, you can listen to my voice. And let's take a deep breath in. We're going to inhale. And we're going to exhale. Let's do that again. We're going to inhale. And we're going to exhale. We're raising our vibrations this morning on our energy levels, our frequency levels. Let's inhale again. And let's exhale. I've got some lovely incense burning in the background. Let's inhale and exhale. We're creating a lovely vibration this morning. If you're joining me, let's breathe. We're doing breathing. Breathing is good. It clears our chakra. Anything that's blocked this morning, we're clearing it this morning. Let's take another deep breath in. And let's breathe out. If you want to close your eyes while you're doing this, then fine. But I've got to open my eyes to make sure everything's working. Let's take one more deep breath this morning before we start our affirmations this morning. And let's breathe out. I'm going to let that lovely vibration music keep playing in the background while we do our affirmations this morning. And let's go. I am happy and accept who I am. I don't need external validation. I am worthy of living a good life. Let's say that again. I am happy and I accept who I am. I don't need external validation. I am worthy of living a good life. I am worthy of living a good life. You're worthy of living a good life. I am aligned to my beliefs and my values and make no excuses or apologies for them. We're going to say that one again. I am aligned to my beliefs and my values, and I make no excuses or apologies for them. I am in charge of my feelings and my thoughts. I am in charge of my feelings and my thoughts. And my behavior. No one's in control of our behavior but us. My past does not define me. I live in the present moment. My past does not define me. I live in the present moment. And so for all those naysayers that are always bringing up our past, it doesn't define us. We don't live there anymore. We don't live in the yesterdays. We don't live in the past. We live in the present moment, and we are not defined by our past this morning. I make the right choices and I create with the universe. We are co-creators with the universe. Let's say that one again. I make the right choices and I co-create with the universe. My instincts are my guide. My instincts are my guide. And I trust and honor where it leads me. Let's say that one again together. My instincts are my guide, and I trust and honor where it leads me. I am the captain of my ship. I am interdependent and rely on myself. I am the captain of my ship, the captain of my life. We are the captain of our lives. We are interdependent, not dependent. Interdependent, where we can have our own autonomy, and I rely on myself. I rely on myself, and I rely on the universe. We rely on ourselves and rely on the universe. So many blessings to you this morning. Thank you for joining me and doing that positive affirmations this morning. Welcome to the Angela Lee Show. And we're streaming live on ellensoulradio.com on the airways. If you're listening to me on the airways, welcome to the show this morning. Thank you for doing the affirmations with me. We're also streaming live on my YouTube channel, so don't forget to subscribe to Angela Lee. And we're streaming live on Facebook Live. Again, my Facebook page, Angela Lee. And it's being plugged throughout the community. And we're also streaming live on StreamYard. So good morning to you. And we're talking about, what are you leaning on? What crutch are you leaning on this morning? Do share the show for anyone that you know needs to hear the show this morning. What crutch are you leaning on this morning? What crutch? And let's have a look at what the word crutch means. I know lots of us do know what that means. We do know what crutch represents. And so let's look at that word and let's define that word. I've taken the music off because it was sending me like somewhere else. It's nice, isn't it? And so when we look at the word crutch, what does crutch mean? A lot of us do know that because many of us have used crutches to prop us up when we've actually injured ourselves. And so a crutch is a long stick with a cross piece at the top. And it's used as a support under the armpit by a person with an injury or a disability. When we look at the metaphor, or we look at metaphorically what that crutch actually represents, and it's something that people rely on that they shouldn't need to rely on. That's a crutch metaphorically. And so we lean on it when we're hurt and when we're weak. And it can be a physical crutch you use, as I mentioned, because you've broken your leg. Or it could be a crutch metaphorically in terms of relying on a friend. You're depending on them a bit too much, particularly when you're going through a difficult time. And it's okay to depend on, friends and people that we can trust to support us. However, if we are relying on them too much, then they become a crutch. And we are talking about, who are we allowing ourselves to prop ourselves with in terms of that crutch, that metaphorical crutch in our lives? Because if we rely on people too much, then they become a crutch. Because we can rely on people when we're going through struggles. It's fine to rely on people. It's fine to get a mentor or a coach or a therapist. It's fine to get that support. But these people are there to support us and to lead us to a path where we can then become interdependent and live and govern our own lives. And so it's okay to have a crutch in our lives temporarily, but it's not healthy to have a crutch that's prompting us or propping us up continuously for the rest of our lives. Then we become caretakers, enablers, rescuers. If we continue to be propped up in life, we have to learn to become interdependent, move away from being dependent to interdependent when we are having responsibility and control over our lives. And so who is propping you up this morning? Who are you leaning on this morning? The way we feel about ourselves, profoundly impacts on our lives, the way we feel about ourselves. And these signs, in terms of people that use crutches metaphorically in their lives, are people that actually struggle with eating disorders, such as being overweight, people that are anorexic, people that suffer from bulimia, people that struggle with troubled relationships, whether it's intimacy, commitments, they have affairs, people that have physical problems, chronic health issues. Drug and alcohol misuse are crutches are props. Workaholism and frenetic activity, where we are continuously or frantically restless. We can't keep still. Workaholism, always working, always busy, can be a crutch in our lives. Smoking can equally be a crutch in our lives. Overspending, compulsive shopping or gambling can also be a crutch in our lives. And as I mentioned in the beginning, dependency on others, dependency on the other, whether it's a family or gurus. And as I mentioned before, it's okay to lend for that support, but at some point we have to learn to get off that crutch and start walking ourselves. And that's what we're talking about this morning. So let me know, what are your props? What are you leaning on? What are you relying on in terms of your life? Are you dependent on a lot of these ideas that I've just lent this morning? And it's okay if we are at that stage, but we can't remain there. It's okay if we're there right now, but I'm just trying to support you this morning so that we can, in our own journey, take steps on how we can become interdependent. Now, these barriers are rooted in our culture, our environment, and many of these are actually based on our childhood modeling. Many of us have developed this dependent type of culture where we rely and we depend and we become people that rely on people. We can't survive. We can't make our own choices. We're not interdependent. We are too self-reliant on people. We are too dependent. And sometimes this is based on our childhood modeling. And it becomes abusive when we overeat, when we become workaholics, when we become shopaholics. It then becomes a problem. It then becomes an issue. And that's what we're talking about this morning. Because as I mentioned, it's okay to have a prop. It's okay to need support, but we don't want to live a life of dependency where we are 100% dependent or relying on that prop. We just imagine if we had an injury, and I had a knee injury, and I'm having some physio on my knee injury at the moment. And at the early stages of my knee injury, I was offered some crutches, and that was a prop to support me with my knee injury. However, I remembered my physio mentioning to me that, he actually designed a schedule of exercises that I needed to do in order to strengthen my knee. And so I could not rely on that crutch that the doctor or my physio assigned to me. I had to start slowly attempting to walk on my own without the crutch. I had to start doing those exercises that my physio designed for me so that I can begin to strengthen my knee. And doing those exercises is actually going to enable me to actually not rely on that crutch. If I continue to rely on that crutch, then my knee injury is not going to be strengthened. I'm not going to be able to strengthen my knee because I'm still relying on that crutch. And so I have to move away and detach myself from that crutch slowly. I can rely on it if needed, but I have to slowly move away from the crutch, which is what I've done. and I have to start to become dependent, where I start exercising, doing those physio exercises, and that will strengthen my knee. And my knee is getting stronger. That's why I'm going to the gym. I'm doing all my exercises, and my knee is becoming more stronger, and I'm not relying on that crutch. Now, if I was still using that crutch, going to work and not being able to drive, not being able to travel, then I'm going to restrict myself. And I know that there's some people that are actually relying on the crutches, those people that are disabled, etc. So I'm not actually taking that away from them, but I'm using my scenario, and it's a real scenario because I've actually got a knee injury. And however, I'm working that knee. I'm going to the gym, I'm doing exercises, and I'm working that knee so that I'm not relying on my crutch, because I've got crutches at home. And so let's have a look at the scenario of work. And so we work to make a living. And however, when work becomes a center of our lives to the point that we neglect our closest relationships and even our health, then work becomes self-destructive. It becomes a crutch. So workaholism now becomes a crutch, and we have feelings of and it's usually with people that have, not all, but it's sometimes people that have an inadequacy. They have feelings of loneliness, and so they become immersed with their work, and they become a workaholic to block that emptiness, to block that loneliness. And so that inadequacy and that loneliness then becomes their drive. And what they're doing invariably is that they are actually intensifying that loneliness, and they're distancing themselves from others. And so that workaholism, that overworking, becomes a crutch. And so it's very important that we have a balance in our lives, and that we move away from relying 100% on crutches. And because if we over intensify the things that are there to support us, then it's going to become abusive. Likewise, we eat for nourishment. But when eating becomes abusive, we begin to overeat, or we binge and we purge, or we eat compulsively. And lots of people, if they are lonely or if they don't feel good about themselves, they begin to overeat. Or some people, they don't eat at all because they don't feel good about themselves. And particularly people that are suffering from anorexia and bulimia, they look in the mirror and they have this negative voice talking to them and actually lying to them and telling them that they actually are fat, and they're not fat. But they believe that negative voice that's sitting on their shoulder, that's actually telling them that they're fat, and they believe that voice. And so they binge and they purge because they don't like what they look like. And that negative voice is ringing in their ear. And so the binging and the purging and the overeating becomes a crutch. So often people who abuse themselves this way are burying their feelings of anger, of hurt, of low self-worth. And often the binging helps them to control their anxiety and helps them to be in control. So we're talking about crutches this morning. And so if you are struggling with needing support, where that support that you're needing becomes a dependent support, a crutch, where you're too self-reliant on someone or something, and when that becomes too intensified, then it becomes an abusive crutch in your life. Overspending is also a crutch. I had a friend that loves going shopping, and I know that we women, we like going shopping, and she's always going shopping. A friend in the past, always going shopping, always spending, always buying, and living beyond her means. Couldn't afford to buy all the things that she wanted, but was just happy shopping. I mean, how many jackets can one person have? How many shoes can a person have? And so shopping becomes a crutch because it gives and provides pleasure. And I remember she mentioning to me that, oh, do you know what, Angela? I know I haven't got the money. I know I can't afford it, but you know, when I go out and when I buy something, it actually makes me feel happy. And so many people find pleasure in shopping. And so they shop beyond their means. They can't afford it. Or lots of people, they start gambling. You know, playing the lottery now and again, okay, that's fine. But some people are actually addicted to gambling. And then gambling becomes a crutch because it finds them pleasure. And they're actually trying to block an element of pain or hurt in their lives. And so these things that they're doing, shopping and gambling, it becomes a crutch to manage their anxiety. It becomes abusive, and they can have devastating outcomes. I mean, because if you continue to shop beyond your means, then you're going to become in debt. It's going to lead to poverty. And if you keep gambling, equally, it's going to have devastating effects. And so if we do things in excess, it becomes abusive. This morning, we're talking about crutches. What are you leaning on for support? And as I mentioned on the show earlier on, it's okay to reach out for that initial support. However, at some point, like my knee injury, I have to start exercising and strengthening that knee. I have to start walking again. I have to start driving again. And I'm happy to say that I can drive at short distances. I can even drive to London now, but not on a regular basis, because I used to drive to London to work 4 hours a day, which is why I ruined my knee. And so I am not relying on my crutch anymore. I have to strengthen my knee with my physio exercises and start sort of venturing out, start being interdependent, and start, taking those short journeys and not rely on my crutch that I've got, that my physio gave me. Because if I continue to just use my crutch, then I'm not going to be interdependent. I won't be able to go out. I won't be able to live a full life. And so smoking also becomes a crutch. And I know loads of people that smoke, and I'm not judging you. And using certain drugs equally becomes a crutch, and it can actually be harmful. And sometimes it prevents us from making those correct choices in our lives, and particularly as our self-abusive patterns and habits leads to a vicious circle. And all these crutches that we rely on, they provide short-term temporary relief. So being a shopaholic, being a workaholic, binging or overeating, smoking, overspending, they only provide temporary relief. But however, when those original feelings of anxiety or low self-worth, when the medication wears off, or whether substance wears off or the behavior wears off, what are we going to do? Are we going to continuously rely on these crutches or these props? We need to find a better way this morning. We need to find a better way this morning. We need to find a better way. Denise is saying a great illustration about your knee injury and doing exercises to wean off the crutch. She says she loves it. And Denise has also mentioned that she was married to someone who was a workaholic, and he still is 25 years later and never got another partner. So there's loads of people that are workaholics. So they're blocking pain by keeping busy. And what they do invariably is they alienate themselves and they distance themselves from people. So they're defeating the whole object of feeling that emptiness and that loneliness. Curly is mentioning that we must value our work on ourselves. Dealing with outer appearance alone will never satisfy the soul. Absolutely. Good morning to you, Glenn. Good morning to you, Glenn Ford, this morning. And so, yeah, the outer appearance, how I look outside and externally is not where it's at. It's how I feel about myself internally. And how I feel about myself internally is going to be expressed externally. You're going to see how I feel about myself. And so if I'm not really feeling good about myself, it's going to be evident in my physical. It's going to be evident externally if I don't feel good about myself. And so it's all about doing that inner work, that shadow work. That's what we're talking about this morning. And so what crutch are you leaning on this morning? Share your thoughts, because we're having a conversation this morning. I'm not talking at you. Because I remembered that when I was depressed a decade ago, when I was struggling with depression, drink became my crutch. I started to rely on drink to block my pain. And so alcoholism becomes a crutch when we rely on the so many drinks to make us feel good again, and to block the pain and to block those feelings of anxiety and hopelessness. And so alcoholism, or that drink, that red wine that we have 3 times a day, now becomes excessive. It becomes every day. Every day we depend on it. Every day we rely on it. And if we're not careful, we're going to become alcoholics. I remember talking to someone who mentioned that every night they have a glass of wine with their meal, and sometimes that glass of wine, it actually becomes a bottle of wine, and so they have a bottle of wine every meal, and they have developed an alcohol dependency on that, and they had to draw back, and I can actually resonate with that, because I used to use alcohol to block my pain a decade ago. And so alcoholism or depending on drink becomes a crutch. But these crutches are only provide temporary relief. And so what are we going to do? Keep drinking? And that's why we become alcoholics, because we keep drinking, because when that temporary relief has disappeared and that pain has resurfaced, then we again having to go on that vicious cycle to numb and to block that pain. And so we keep drinking, or we keep smoking, or we keep taking drugs, or we keep shopping, or we keep working, or we keep overeating, or we keep binging, or we keep purging, because what we're trying to do is to block the pain. And so this morning on our Spiritual and Wellbeing show, I'm sharing some real life issues that we have, that I had. But we want to find solutions for you this morning where we can move away from being reliant on that crutch. And I've used my issue that I have with my knee, where I can't rely on my crutch. I have to start doing those physio exercises. I have to start going to the gym and strengthening that knee. And if I do not do that, then my right knee is going to continue to be weak, and I won't be able to function. I won't be able to do those journeys. I won't be able to do those things that I want to do. It's going to restrict me. And so we have to start exercising. We have to start weaning off our crutches. And I know that Denise can actually resonate with me here. Sometimes belonging to a religious group or a sect can also equally provide us with a crutch for many of us. We are social beings as humans. And so we need that sense of belonging. We need to socialize. We need to interact, which is why social media is actually exploded right now. However, that group becomes abusive when it attempts to control us with their man-made rules and regulations and laws, their man-made doctrines. And so a crutch becomes abusive when it controls us, when it becomes compulsive, when it becomes addictive, when we depend on it, it becomes abusive. Good morning to you, Anisa, and I'm hoping I've actually pronounced your name right this time. Good morning. This morning it's the Angela Show. Thank you for joining me this morning. We're talking about what crutch are you leaning on this morning. We're streaming live on ellensoulradio.com, and we're also streaming live on my YouTube channel, Angela Lee, also on Facebook Live. If you're listening to my voice this morning, let's have a conversation this morning, because we're here to help each other out. I'm not judging, because I had a crutch 10 years ago. I was reliant and I was dependent on alcohol because I was trying to block my pain. And so I just kept drinking. And as I mentioned, and as I shared with you this morning, I've got a knee injury on my right knee, and I was given a crutch by my physio. However, I've got to wean myself off my crutch, and I have been able to do that. And I am doing some exercises that my physio has designed for me. And I am strengthening my knee by going to the gym, by walking, by doing exercises, so that I can wean off my crutch, because I cannot rely on my crutch all the time. I can't be dependent on my crutch all the time. And that's what we're talking about this morning, how we can become interdependent and rely on ourselves and not rely on our crutch, depend on crutch. And as I mentioned, some people are people pleasers. They depend on people for their happiness. They depend on people for their validation. And so they will go to lengths to please people. They become yes people. They cannot say no. And so you become dependent on the external factors of people for your happiness, for your validation. But the danger of that is that when people no longer need you, you reach a crisis point where you feel unloved and you feel empty. And so you start to probably attract other needy people, and then this vicious circle continues. And so this morning we are sharing lots of tips and strategies on how you can wean off the crutch. I mean, before we can actually begin to wean off the crutch, we've got to identify what these crutches represent. We can't actually confront something that we're not actually going to, we can't actually solve anything if we're not going to be able to confront it. And so we need to acknowledge, what are these crutches that we have in our lives? Is it drink? Is it smoking? Is it drugs? Is it working too much? Is it shopping? Is it eating? And I know someone that overeats because they're lonely. So they just sit on that TV, whether they're watching Netflix or not, and they just overeat. Or as I mentioned, some people, they binge because they have voices in their heads telling them that they're not good enough, they're not worthy. And so eating provides comfort. Eating becomes a crutch. And that's what we're talking about this morning. I'm going to play a number. I like to break my show off. Let's have a conversation this morning. Share the show. If you know someone that has a crutch in their lives and they need support, share the show, and I'm going to see you in a bit. I'm going to still be here, going to play another number, and we're talking about crutches in our lives. I'm bringing light to you this morning. We have to face our skeletons, our fears this morning on our spiritual and well-being show.
I am not the things my family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside.
Bringing love and light to you this Sunday morning. Bringing love and light to you this Sunday morning. If you're listening on the airways, we're talking about crutches this morning. What are you leaning on this morning? We're going to be sharing some tips and strategies on how you can move away, wean yourself off your crutch this morning and live a life of independency. We are not the mistakes that we've made. We are not defined by our past this morning. Bringing love and light to you this Sunday morning, and we're streaming live on ellensoulradio.com this morning. Love and light this Sunday morning. Love and light this morning.
I am not my race, my soul inside is all light.
We can move away from the crutches this morning. We can move away from the crutches this morning. Okay, so if you're joining me now for the first time, welcome to the show. We're talking about what are you leaning on this morning? What are you leaning on this morning? And so belonging to a religious group can actually be a crutch, particularly if they try to control and dominate your life. Physical injury or physical illness can also be a crutch. And there are some physical injury that causes injury to us, and particularly injuries that are rooted in unforgiveness. They can become abusive when we refuse to forgive, we refuse to let go of the past, and if we continue engaging in those ruminating thoughts of anger, of vengeance, of hate, and of resentment that are unproductive outcomes for us. Because all it does, it increases anxiety, it actually impacts on our depression, it elevates our blood pressure, it causes vascular resistance, and it decreases our immune responses. And so holding on to past hurts inevitably becomes a crutch when we keep recording and we keep playing the past hurts again and again. And so unforgiveness can cause us personal physical injury. And so if we're holding on to someone If someone has done us injury, we need to forgive them because it impacts on our immune system. It impacts on our physical bodies. We need to release them. We need to forgive them. And I just want to read that list again. I just want to share that list because some people think there's no link. There is a link between repressed feelings or holding on to hurt. There is an external impact. Thoughts of anger, thoughts of vengeance, thoughts of hate and resentment. It has unproductive outcomes. It increases our anxiety. And sometimes we wonder why we're still depressed, is because we keep, replaying that record, replaying that hurt. It impacts on our blood pressure. It causes vascular resistance. It decreases our immune responses, and we can't afford to hold on to hurt to that it will impact our immune responses, particularly in the climate that we're living in COVID climate. And so holding on to past hurts inevitably becomes a crutch. When we keep recording and playing that past hurt again and again, it becomes a crutch because we're not dealing with the situation. We're not dealing with it. We just keep replaying that injury. And so it becomes a crutch. Troubled relationships. Promiscuity. There are many of us who struggle with intimacy, being open and vulnerable. And in many instances, we become involved in multiple sexual relationships. And we use these relationships as crutches because we're hiding behind the pain. But yet we have feelings of emptiness and loneliness. It's still apparent. And so it doesn't matter how many people you have a relationship with, because that sexual relationship, that multiple sexual relationship is only providing you temporary relief. And so we need to address our inner wounds, our inner hurts, our feelings. We need to address them. We need to do that shadow work. We need to do that inner work. Because the crutches that we are employing in our lives is only providing us temporary relief. Social media bullies are generally cowards. And many of us have actually experienced being bullied or being stalked on social media. I mean, I had my fair share. And so these social media bullies, they are invariably cowards. And they tend to hide behind their keyboards and they troll people in a negative way. And they stalk them. They never have anything positive to contribute. And many of these trolls are lonely, insecure, manipulative people. And so these bullies, these social media bullies, these social media trolls, these social media stalkers are actually hiding behind their keyboards. And they are cowards, they are lonely, and they are insecure people, manipulative people, and they find pleasure in putting people down because it provides them with a sense of control and it feeds their low self-worth. And so being a bully becomes a crutch for these people. Putting down people becomes a crutch because they're hiding behind their pain of their own insecurities. We can continue with so many examples of people we know, be it a friend or colleague or a family member. But how can we learn or begin to start leaning on ourselves? That's what we want to talk about this morning. How can we move away from that? Quite similar with me sort of moving away from my crutch and going to the gym and strengthening my right knee. How can we now begin to start leaning on ourselves? So leaning on ourselves starts with us making good choices and loving and accepting ourselves. We are multi-dimensional beings, spiritual, mental, and physical. And so we have to start loving ourselves and start accepting ourselves. That's going to enable us to make the right choices for our well-being. So we need to recognize that the way we feel inside affects the way we relate to people. And so if you don't feel good about yourself, it's actually going to be manifested in terms of how we interject, how we interact with people. So if we're feeling negative about ourselves, then we are going to relate and communicate with people on a low frequency level. If we're feeling negative about ourselves. And isn't it a wonder, we meet people and we're having a conversation with people, and as soon as they start talking, we feel their energy. And there is a saying that your energy actually introduces yourself before you start even talking. And Curly is saying, I think some of us go true or rough life. We go through a rough life for a reason, and we can save other people when we overcome so much similar things in our lives. Absolutely, which is why I'm here. I've gone through hell and back, and I've actually devoted my Sundays to support others who are going through their own hell. And Anisa saying, yes, some people drink to escape from feelings of despair due to many underlying issues. Also, people sometimes lean on toxic people and remain in unhealthy relationships. And she's saying it's a great conversation. It's a great topic. Absolutely. And so because we don't feel good about ourselves, we remain in toxic relationships, we remain in toxic friendships, we remain in unhealthy friendships because we don't feel good about ourselves. Or we continue drinking to escape, as Anisa said, those feelings of despair. We remain, or we depend on those crutches in our lives. However, if we are feeling positive and confident about ourselves, then we're going to be able to build and maintain those healthy relationships. And so we can't build healthy relationships if we're not feeling good about ourselves internally, if we don't like ourselves, if we don't love ourselves. We can't build healthy relationships. When we're feeling positive and confident about ourselves, we can build those healthy relationships and we can maintain them because we're feeling good, we're feeling positive, our vibrations are high. And we will discover that as we raise our vibrations, we will feel more energized. As we raise our vibration, we feel more energized. And sometimes there's a lot of us that feeling so, oh, my earrings is coming out, so de-energized. And it's because we need to check on how we're feeling about ourselves. Why are we feeling so de-energized? But when we feel positive, when we feel confident, we discover that we raise those vibrations and we feel energized and we're able to be ourselves. We're able to be ourselves. We're able to be vulnerable. We're able to be compassionate. When we're confident, when we feel good about ourselves, we're able to be ourselves. We're not living a pretentious life. We're not wearing a mask. We're able to be ourselves. And so we need to take responsibility of our lives, and we need to surround ourselves with people who will support our journey. And so, as Anisa says, we need to remove from those negative and those toxic friendships. That does not add any value. That does not serve any good purpose in our lives. And so we need to take that responsibility. So it's important. It is impossible to raise our self-worth living around these negative people. It's impossible. And isn't it a wonder why we remain stuck? And we wonder, okay, why are we still feeling like this? Is because we're still in that toxic environment. And so if we want to feel good about ourselves, we need to remove ourselves from that toxic environment. And so our feelings of worth, they cannot flourish in an environment where we feel that our differences are not appreciated and they're not valued, where mistakes are actually tolerated, not where When we make a mistake, we are constantly reminded about past failures. And do you know people like that? If you're in a friendship, or if you have colleagues or family members that are continuously throwing your past in your face, then that's not good. That's toxic. And and our self-esteem cannot flourish in that environment where we're constantly reminded of our past mistakes, of our past poor choices. We need to be in a healthy relationship where mistakes are tolerated, where we are appreciated, where we feel appreciated, where we feel valued. In an environment where we can freely communicate without feelings of guilt or shame, or where rules of expectations are flexible. And if we're in an environment where rules and expectations are not flexible, they're too rigid. If we're in an environment where people are holding us ransom to our past and trying to make us feel guilty, where we cannot communicate freely, where we're walking on eggshells, that is a toxic environment. That climate is not good for your self-worth. And so in order to wean ourselves from the crutches in our lives, we need to surround ourselves with positive, healthy people who appreciate, who value us, who are quite flexible, where we can communicate freely. The best way to support one's growth is to make the necessary changes to strive towards our personal destiny and to develop a cheering section who cares. And so we need to surround ourselves with a cheering section of people, your tribe, your community of like-minded people, because your tribe ultimately, attracts your tribe. And so wherever you're vibing, if you're vibing on a high vibration, you're going to attract like-minded people. And similarly, if you're vibing on a low frequency, you're going to also equally attract those types of low energy vibing people. And so it's so important that we move away from these toxic climates, these toxic environments that no longer serves us, that is not flexible. And it's equally important that the people that you invite in your life are people that you respect, and it's people that you admire, so that you can also cheer for them. And so if you are surrounding yourself with people that you don't even respect, or people that you don't even like, then how can you actually provide them with that cheering support that you need? And so it's so important that we surround ourselves with the right people. So important. So important. It's crucial for our well-being. It's crucial for our mental health that we have our cheering, positive cheering section behind us, cheering us along, not hating us along, cheering us along, celebrating your success, celebrating your wins. And isn't it a wonder that, sometimes we achieve something or we accomplish something, and then we wonder and we look and we check on people that are not actually happy for us. Those are toxic people. Positive people are happy to celebrate your wins, happy to applaud you of your successes and your achievement, because they know where you're coming from. They know your backstory. And so they're happy to celebrate you. They're not hating. And so we need to invite the right people in our lives that are going to cheer us along, that's going to celebrate us. And we have to also be mindful of the people that we invite in our lives, because it's got to be people that are on our level. It's got to be our tribe of people. It's got to be people that we like. It's got to be people that we respect, so that we can cheer them along also. So in order to remove ourselves or wean ourselves from the crutches that we have in our lives, we must be able to take another shot of life, another shot at life. And I know that many of us, like myself, we've gone through so many challenges. And sometimes we feel a sense of hopelessness and we can't go on. Life is tough. Life has thrown so many things at us. And sometimes we feel that, oh my God, I can't take any more. I can't go on. I felt like that a century ago. And sometimes we feel like that when we are surrounded with so many challenges. We feel that, oh my God, we can't go on. This is just too much. However, in order to remove ourselves from those crutches of our lives, we need to take another shot at life. I had to take another shot at life. I had to stop drinking. I had to wean myself from my crutch. I had to take another shot of life, trying to strengthen my knee. I had to take a shot of life when I was, overcoming my depression and feeling of hopelessness and low self-worth. I had to take another shot of life. And so in order for us to wean ourselves from the crutches, from the drink, from the drug, from the eating, from the workaholism, from the shopaholicism, we need to take another shot at life. Another opportunity. And I know that it's risky because we're thinking, can we trust again? Many of us have been through the mud. Can we love again? We have to take a risk in order to live a positive life. I was able to. Otherwise, guess what? If we don't take a risk, if we don't take another shot at life, we're going to remain stuck. We're going to remain stuck. We're going to remain stagnant. We're going to remain hurt. We're going to remain in that pain. We're going to remain relying on that crutch. We're going to remain drinking. We're going to remain binging. We're going to remain purging. We're going to remain overeating. We're going to remain working. So being risky means allowing ourselves to be vulnerable. Allowing ourselves to be vulnerable. Allowing ourselves to tell the truth. I mean, I've shared so many personal things about my life. So I'm being vulnerable. Denise is saying, well done for taking that alcohol in hand, strong woman. Absolutely. Thank you, Denise. So we have to allow ourselves to be vulnerable. Not living a lie. Not being pretentious. Be vulnerable. Be real. Be yourself. We have to take another shot of life. Ultimately, the risk of being yourself. And so if you're happy in your skin, if you've accepted yourself, flaws and all, if you've accepted your past, then you should be happy to be yourself. You validate yourself. You're not looking for external validation because you're happy with yourself. You're at peace with yourself. You've made peace with your past. And you don't care about what the naysayers are going to say. Constantly digging up your past and throw it in your face. You don't care because you know yourself. The universe knows you. You don't need validation from the external factors, from external people, because you know who you are. You know your backstory. You know what you've overcome. And when you've been through hell like me, nothing's going to actually faze you because you know what you've come through, what you've come from. You know. And there's always a saying that, do you know what? People that like to judge you or like to, criticize or those naysayers, come and walk in my shoe. Come and take a walk in the life of Angela Lee or in the life of Denise Wise or in the life of Anisa or in the life of Curly. Come and take a walk in their shoes and let's see how you're going to do. Because it's so easy to judge. It's so easy to point that finger. But as we always say, as you point that finger, remember there's 4 fingers pointing back at you. So easy. And so let's take another shot of life, at life. I did. I had to take another shot at life because I had my kids depending on me. I had to take another shot of life. If I didn't take another shot of life, my kids would probably be sent to foster care and we know that's dangerous. Social services will have to look after them if I continue drinking. If I never sort of took another shot at life, what would happen to my kids? So I had to start living again. I had to take another shot of life, despite the challenges, despite the hating, despite the persecutors, despite the abusers. I had to take another shot at life. And so I'm encouraging you this morning, if you're struggling with your crutch this morning, I'm encouraging you to take another shot at life. Take another shot at life. I did. Because guess what? When we are ready to grow, we are ready to distance ourselves from the way we have constantly seen ourselves. When we are ready to grow, we are ready to remove ourselves, to wean ourselves from the crutch. When we're ready to grow, I'm trying to strengthen my knees, so I want to grow. I want to strengthen my knees, so I'm weaning myself from my crutch. When we're ready to grow, we are ready to wean ourselves from the crutches that we have so relied on to provide that temporary relief for us. When we are ready to grow, we are ready to distance ourselves from the way we see ourselves. We're not fat. We're not ugly. We're not lonely. We're lovable. We're enough. We matter. Irrespective of what the external situation looks like, we are enough. We matter. We have a right to exist. No matter what the naysayers say, no matter what the haters say, no matter what the critiques say. You know, those people that sit as judge and jury over your life, forever judging you, forever criticizing you, no matter what you do. They always have something to say, and what they have to say is not even valuable. When we're ready to grow, we're ready to distance ourselves from the naysayers, from the haters, from the judges and the juries. And we can begin to see ourselves differently. We become conscious. We become aware of who we really are. We have a sense of our purpose in life. So we must leave the past behind. We must. The past will always remember the events of the past, but we must leave it behind in our mindset in terms of not letting it entrap us or keeping us in prison. We just need to basically learn those valid lessons from the past, from, what we've gone through. We've got to learn those lessons, because if we don't learn those lessons, then we're going to repeat those lessons until we pass the test. Otherwise, we're going to continue to rely on those so many crutches. We're going to continue to rely on those crutches that prop us up on our journey if we don't leave the past behind. And so this morning, we're sharing, for those that are just joining us for the first time, we're sharing tips and strategies how we can wean ourselves from the crutches of our lives. And Anisa is saying powerful, and we appreciate you sharing and being vulnerable. There is a release and a freedom in being your true self, self-acceptance. Thank you so much, Anisa. Absolutely. I don't care what the naysayers are going to say about me. I don't care, because I know myself, because I accept myself, because I love myself. I'm the creator of the universe, the universe, not university, universe. I've got university on my brain. He also accepts me and he knows me. And so I don't need to go outside for validation and for acceptance and become a yes person or a people pleaser, because I first and foremost please myself. And that's what self-worth and self-love is about. I give to me first before I give to others. I love myself first. And as the Christian book says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. And so you cannot possibly begin to love your neighbor if you don't love yourself. And so if we are prepared to grow, we are prepared to distance ourselves from the way we see ourselves. I am worthy. I am valuable. I have a right to exist. I am worthy of a good life. I am worthy of love. We are worthy of love. We have to learn to walk again. Just like myself, I have to learn to strengthen my knee and not rely on my crutch. And so I have to learn to walk again. I have to learn. I was on the treadmill this week, and I learned how to jog again on that treadmill, learning to strengthen my knee, weaning myself off that crutch. We have to learn to walk again. We have to heal. We have to recover. Just like my right knee, it has to heal itself. It has to strengthen itself. It has to recover. So we have to recover. I can't rely on my crutch. My knee has to be strengthened. I have to recover. And we can only do that by gradually letting go of our individual crutches. Not immediately, but gradually. I had to gradually start exercising my knee, doing those physio exercises. I had to strengthen my knee. I had to do those physio exercises gradually. And then when I was able to strengthen my knee, I gradually weaned off my crutch. I attended the gym and started on that treadmill, running gently. So I had to start gradually strengthening my knee. So we have to walk again. We have to live again. We have to heal. We have to recover. And in many instances, we can only do that when we start asking for help. We can start asking for help. I had to reach out with my knee. I had to ask for help. I had to go to my doctors. And my doctors was able to signpost me to my physio. So I asked for help. I asked for help to wean off my crutch. And so my physio helped me to wean off my crutch by designing those exercises. And then I was able to wean off my crutch, and I was able to become interdependent now and do those exercises on my own and start walking and jogging again. So we can ask for help. Asking for help is no shame in asking for help. We can ask for help from trusted friends or trusted family members or professional therapists or coach. And as I mentioned, I asked for help from my doctors, from my physio, who was able to design some exercises where I can begin to navigate and strengthen my right knee. And as I'm speaking to you, I'm sort of propping my right knee up because I can still feel the pain. But guess what? I'm still working through it. But I'm happy to say that I'm no longer relying on my crutch. And so, what crutch do you need or do you want to let go of this morning? What crutch? Because you've got to want to let go of it. What crutch do you want to let go of this morning? Because you got to want to get rid of the crutch. Because some people, they don't want to get rid of it. They like it. They rely on it. They depend on it. What crutch do you want to let go of this morning? I've shared my journey with you this morning in terms of my crutches that I had to let go of. And the last crutch that I had to let go of is the crutch supporting my right knee. I had to eventually wean myself off it. And I've become interdependent now because I can walk again. Because we have to heal. We have to recover. Get the help that you need this morning. Seek the help that you need. So if you're in pain, emotional or psychological pain, get the help that you need this morning. Speak to that therapist or that coach. I'm a life coach. I'm a transformational life coach. And so if you want to reach out to me this morning, then feel free. Send me a message in my inbox. Message me on Facebook, on social media. Reach out to me on my YouTube channel. Reach out to me on the radio station, ellensoulradio.com. If you need that support to wean off your crutch, then I'm making myself available to you. Reach out to me. Send me a message. Because some of us need that professional help. I needed that professional help. I had to get a physiotherapist in order to wean off my crutch, and they were able to devise some exercise for me. When I was depressed a century ago, I had to employ a therapist, a CBT therapist, to work through my thinking and my mindset. So I reached out for help, and I had no shame in reaching out for help. So this morning, whatever you need to do to wean yourself off your crutch, this morning, I'm encouraging you to reach out for that help. And as I mentioned, there's so many resources out there. We have no excuse unless you have a physical disability and you have to rely on that crutch, then fair enough. But if you have not got a chronic physical disability, then there's no excuse for you to remain stuck on that crutch. And I'm not actually disrespecting your crutch that you're relying on, because some of it is actually chronic. Some of it is actually genetic, and it's going to take some work, because we're dealing with archetypes. We're dealing with hereditary stuff. We're dealing with past life stuff. That's going to take some inner work. That's going to take some shadow work. But you can do that work. You can start distancing yourself from the way you were, from the way you see yourself, by the help and the aid of professional therapist or coach, perhaps even just talking to a friend. What do you need to do in order to wean yourself from your crutch this morning? And as I mentioned, you can reach out to me. I'm a professional coach, trained professional coach, a member of the APC. You can check me out. Do your research. And when you're actually looking for a coach, do your research on people. Google them, research them, see what they're about. David Skins is saying, I hear you. Denise is saying, it's fear that holds us back from letting go, as we know we have to face our fears ahead. Absolutely. And sometimes that thing that is familiar becomes comfortable for us because it's familiar. We don't want to leave that comfort zone. But this morning, in order for us to grow, we have to see ourselves differently. In order for us to grow, we have to become uncomfortable. We have to move into the world of the unknown. If we're ever going to find our life purpose, if we're ever going to live that life of potential, we have to walk again. We have to give life another shot. We have to heal. We have to recover, like I did. I stopped drinking. We have to recover. I recovered from depression. I recovered from chronic insomnia. I couldn't sleep at one point. I've recovered. I'm talking from experience. And so this morning, I'm being vulnerable. I'm being real. I've recovered from panic attacks. I used to have panic attacks systematically. I recovered from abusive relationships, from toxic relationships. I've recovered from my feelings of low self-worth. I've recovered. I love myself. I value myself, irrespective of the naysayers, irrespective of people that don't like me. I don't care. I like myself. I don't need your validation. I know who I am. I know where I'm going. Can you say the same for yourself this morning? Reach out. If you need help this morning, if you need that support this morning, reach out. Reach out. Don't remain stuck. Don't remain stagnant. Reach out. Break that generational cycle of remaining stuck. No one in my family does this. No one in my family talks about this. This is the way things are. Break that pattern. Break that toxic pattern. Break that cycle. Be the first person in your family, in your generation, to break that cycle. Break it. This morning, you can live again. Ask for help. You can live again. You can do this. You can do this. And so, before I leave the show, because I'm only here till 10:30 this morning, because I've got a busy Sunday just like yourself, and I've got to make sure I look after myself as well. Just want to thank you for listening to the show this morning. I want to end with how I began the show, with those positive affirmations that we played this morning. I want to end with these positive affirmations again. I want to end. I am happy and accept who I am. I don't need external validations. I am worthy of living a good life. I am aligned to my beliefs and my values. and make no excuses or apologies for them. I am in charge of my feelings, my thoughts, and my behavior. My past does not define me. I live in the present moment. I make the right choices, and I co-create with the universe. My instincts are my guide. I trust and I honor where it leads me. I am the captain of my ship. I am interdependent and I rely on myself. Remember to do your daily affirmations every morning. And Isa is saying, an impact question you ask. It makes us think that we need to filter out our lives. And yes, also when people are low on self-love, they are prone to unhealthy attachment. When we have high levels of self, we take those steps like you did. We owe it to ourselves. And Anisa, many blessings to you, Anisa. And she's saying thanks for a brilliant show. Many blessings to all of you that have listened on Facebook Live, on the YouTube channel when I plug it again, also on StreamYard. Thank you for joining me this morning. We are enough. We are worthy of love. We are worthy of a good life. So have a great Sunday, a good start to the week. Remember your positive affirmations. I do them daily. It's a part of my daily routine. It lifts your vibrations. It aligns you to what the universe has for you, and it will attract your tribe, your right tribe, your positive tribe. So many blessings to you this morning. Many blessings to you this morning. And I'm going to end with my champion song this morning. So many blessings to you, and thank you for joining me this morning.
And many times I've been knocked down.
Many blessings to you this morning, and thank you for listening on ellensoulradio.com and also on my YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe. Thank you for joining me this morning. Have a great Sunday. We're going to dance away the end of the show. Woo!
How are you the best if you never stood the test? How do you know you gave it all your might? How'd you overcome and never been in a bind? How did you reach the top with no mountain to climb? And if you never kept fighting when the world thought that you should give in, then how could you be a true champion?
Thank you, Denise. She says, I'm a total inspiration. So are you. Many blessings. Thank you. Thank you.
If you ever had to plan for the plot, if you ever had to take a lucky shot,
let's dance.
If everybody quit on you, got fed up. If you ever had to keep your head up,
hey.
If you ever had to take it on the chin,
ooh.
Had to sacrifice it all to get the win. You work hard for this every day. Your teammates and your enemies sleep, but you wide awake, pushing and you working on it. See, that's what a champ do, and that's why you in on the up like a rap dude. You just gotta keep it all together like a clamp dude, and that light is shining on your path like a lamp dude. Don't let these people stamp you. Yeah. Where is your victory if you never had a battle? How could you win if you never had a fight?
You're a champion.
If you never stood the test, how do you know you did it all your might? How did you overcome and never been in a bind? How did you reach the top with no mountain to climb? And if you never kept fighting when the world thought that you should give in, then how could you be a true champion?
We have Anthony B with his 80s show falling after me. Keep it locked to ellensoulradio.com. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Many blessings. We are champions. We've overcome. Have a great Sunday. Stand up, champion. Stand up. Stand up, Denise. Stand up, Anisa. Stand up, Cole. Caddy, stand up. Stand up. Woo! Woo! Stand up. Champion, stand up. Stand up, Denise. Anisa.